Good evening to you. A woman is dead and her husband, a Buffalo police officer, is charged in her death. We've been following this closely since the victim was found inside her home in Sanborn in the town of Lewiston over the weekend. 53-year-old Lance Woods faces a charge of murder in the second degree. We've learned his wife, 35-year-old Alexis Skochilas, had filed for divorce several months back. Police telling 7 News that she was shot in the head. Lewiston detectives worked with Buffalo police and other agencies to locate Woods. He was arrested during a traffic stop in the town of Amherst. Jeff Rinaldo is a retired Buffalo police captain, and he joins us live here tonight as we try to make sense of this case and what led to this. Great to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
I mentioned there that once Lewiston police thought that they knew who their suspect was, that it was this Buffalo police officer, they reached out to Buffalo police, and Buffalo police assisted in finding him. How unique is that, and how do you understand that would have happened?
Well, I think it's actually pretty common. I mean, anytime an agency has an officer charged, whether for on-duty or off-duty conduct that's this serious, the first thing you want to do is try to secure that person. You don't want any further acts of violence, or God forbid the person decides to harm themselves. So I think that cooperation counts. And in a situation like this person is wanted for murder. So any agency is going to go out of its way to try to help ascertain the location of that individual.
And we were told that involved helping to track a vehicle that he was in. We know that there are license plate readers, there are different tools that police agencies have to do that. That would have been utilized in something like this?
Absolutely. I mean, whether it's through LPR technology, cell phones, things of that nature, I'm sure probably even in as much as just trying to reach out to him to find out where he's at and try to bring a safe conclusion to this incident.
And he was located, as we mentioned there, in the town of Amherst. So you would have had Lewiston police, Buffalo police, Amherst police, a lot of different agencies involved here.
Sure, anybody that potentially would have been in a location where he may have been located or would know where he would be. For instance, relatives' houses, his house, friends, things of that nature.
We mentioned earlier in our reporting that the Attorney General's office is involved in this, and it's relatively new, been around for a little while, but walk us through why that would be the case.
Well, in 2020, the executive law changed to include not only on-duty conduct by police officers falls under the purview of the Attorney General's office, but now off-duty conduct as well. So if you're off-duty and, God forbid, you're involved in a DWI crash or in a situation like this where he's accused of felony crime, the AG's office has jurisdiction. Now, whether or not they decide to prosecute is up to conversations between the AG's office as well as the local district attorney's office, but the AG does oversee this to ensure that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
And in this case, that would be the Niagara County District Attorney's Office working with them because of where we're talking about. Finally, in terms of the Buffalo Police Department, the mayor's office put out some information earlier saying, look, we want to be as transparent as we can be. There are some things we can release and some we can't, because people are naturally wondering, is he on paid leave or is he on unpaid leave and all that sort of thing. It does get tricky, right? You have laws you have to follow, you have union rules you have to follow, but what would you suspect is his status right now?
Well, without a doubt, he's suspended without pay based on the collective bargaining agreement with officers. Regardless of the reason why they would find themselves suspended, the department can only suspend for up to 30 days without pay. After that point, they would have to be brought back to the payroll. We've seen this in other cases where officers had been arrested for crimes by DEA or other agencies like that. Until there's an actual conviction in that case, the officer is entitled to pay. Now, whether or not the Ryan administration decides to take a different approach, they can do that, but we have seen in the past where officers who were immediately fired, even though eventually convicted, they were entitled to back pay during that period of time.
So you have to follow all the rules as they are. And of course, we can't lose sight in all of this. Our thoughts and prayers with the family. There's a 35-year-old woman who is dead, 2 children without a mother. We really appreciate your insight on this. Retired Buffalo Police Captain Jeff Rinaldo. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.